Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin soul channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the new moon in Sagittarius of 2021 that occurred on December 4th and the solar eclipse in Sagittarius that also occurred on the same day. Before I jump into today's content, I want to just take a pause and share a couple of things with you guys that are really important to me. When I started this channel, I was just trying to get out of what I call twin flame jail. I was very heavy in the midst of the purification process, which I've covered in a channeled message, and the channeled awareness about what it meant to be a twin soul was coming in fast. And most days, I felt like a crazy person. I thought I was losing my mind. And this was hard for me because one of my biggest fears in life, which I think actually may be past life related, is to be institutionalized. I never want to be inside of any kind of institution for any reason whatsoever. And I'm terrified of it. And so when I was already clairaudient, but when the information started to come through about the twin soul experience, it blew my mind and heart wide open. It was, and the experience of really being an initiate as a twin soul, an initiate in love, it was soul shattering, as I know many of you can relate to. Sometimes I still do feel like a crazy person, but the heartache that I felt was lifted every time I shared what was shared with me here with all of you. I could breathe again when I let the light out of me and into the world. And it's been an extraordinary honor to discover that what my spiritual guidance team has shared with me about how to read the stars for twin souls, about the path, about how unique it will be from any other relationship or connection we'll have. It blows my mind that at this point, over 15,000 people have found this information useful enough for them to subscribe to this channel. I honestly have not fully digested it. And if I'm going to take a step further to be even more honest, I created this channel for very selfish and very simple reasons. One summer afternoon, on the roof of where I used to live, I had a rooftop garden. And one summer afternoon, I was in conversation with a friend of mine whom I'd known for over 20 years. And she was courageous and bold enough to reveal to me some of the experiences that she was having in her own life, and that she understood herself to be a twin. And when she shared those things with me, I got permission in that moment to share the channeled information that was coming through for me. And it was the first time I had spoken a word of it to anyone. And as I shared with her, I didn't feel the heaviness anymore. I didn't feel the trapped feeling. I suddenly felt very free from some of that twin flame jail feeling, that it can just feel like a real constriction if the energy gets stuck and it's not flowing through us. So special shout out to you. You know who you are. I would not have had the courage to share had you not had the courage to share with me first. And I made a deal that day with my guidance team. As a result of feeling so free, I said, I'm going to share whatever you tell me to share out here publicly on YouTube for whoever you think will listen to it, as long as I can get out of twin flame jail. And that week, I recorded the first channeled message that was given to me, and it worked. The heaviness kept lifting. And here we are, 180 videos later, over 15,000 subscribers, 1.3 million plus views on the channel content and counting. and most of it coming through Google search, knowing that people are actually trying to Google to understand this stuff, and then finding the things I have to share so valuable, or my guidance team shares with me so valuable, really blows my mind. Your likes, your shares, your subscribes, you guys write to me. I receive letters all the time. Okay, if you didn't share this stuff, I don't know where I would be. I'd think I was going crazy. But you guys liking, sharing, subscribing the way you do, you're letting me know that I'm not crazy. Together, somehow, we're making this insane experience on the intuiting twin side feel less insanity making. So many of you have shared your individual stories with me via email, and how the things that I've shared with you have kept you off the edge and made you feel at peace and allowed you to keep moving forward in your lives. And for that, I'm really grateful. For me, hearing what you've had to say and seeing the way you've subscribed to the channel, it's confirmed that these voices that I hear, they're not just for me, and that I'm not crazy for hearing them, and that all of it, everything that you've been through, that I've been through, it's heading somewhere good, even if we can't see it yet. So I've put together a small thank you gift to close out our 2021 together for those of you who are new to the content or who missed some of the content for this year. I've put together a small offering so that you can jump in and get caught up on some of the information. All of the content from Q&A with Kay from 2020 and 2021 and the Timing of Union workshop, the astrology workshop, I've made it available for you for a savings of 30% off just for this week. So let's have a look at that real quick and where you can find that, so that if you decide you want to jump in, you can do that now. The links will be just below this video. So Q&A with Kay, holiday special, 30% off, and it includes, let's just jump down here so you know what it includes. I removed the Q&A portions, but kept in all of the channeled guidance portions for you. So you'll get channeled guidance on the divine mirror patterns, on spiritual union, the roles of a soulmate, an ascension partner, having more than one twin, having a karmic soulmate, what that all means, sexual union. And as bonus content, I've included all of the channeled information from Q&A with Kay of 2020 as well. Welcoming your inner runner home, how to identify as the chaser person. I don't really like these terms, but I know you all understand them. How to identify how you in and of yourself are actually also running, and how to stop that so that you can integrate the love and the connection and allow it to anchor in the third dimension. We've got a session on speaking your truth versus authentically connecting. I hear a lot of people say, I spoke my truth to them and now it's up to them. But there's a difference between authentically connecting and weaponizing your experiences and feelings in such a way that it creates greater separation and silence instead of connection and intimacy. And we cover the difference and how to get into authentic connection when you have difficult things to share in this session. Intergenerational blocks. This is session 9 here, to love and to light work, and how to overcome those so that you can finally have that which your soul is yearning for, even if there's intergenerational trauma and blocks that are stopping you from exploring and experiencing that. And then finally, for 2020's Q&A with Kay, I had Lee of Relationship Reinvented join, and he did a special private coaching session for the members, which you can listen to there. All of this is available for you for 20% off. Q&A with Kay on its own, just the 2021 session sold for 177 USD, but I've removed the Q&A portions. Just the channeled content portion is available from 2020 and 2021 for 122 for you to take advantage of this week if you'd like to do so. And then there's the timing of union workshop, which was 77 USD. It's an intermediate workshop and it helps you understand exactly how to track and predict your union windows and how to understand what, based on what's happening astrologically, when the pull between you and your counterpart is going to be the loudest and the strongest, and when there's going to be some other planetary stuff happening that's going to anchor you deeper into union with self, union with the divine, or union with your mission or soul group. You'll be able to do all of this once you complete this workshop, but I will say it's an intermediate workshop. So if you don't know astrology, you may want to hold back on this one until you've got some basics down. Star School 101 will become available in 2022 again. But this is available for you, both courses, for the next 6 days until Sunday, the 12th at 11:59 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And then finally, if you want them both, if you're like me and you're like, no, give me everything, then you can get them both in one package. Again, the links are below this video. You can get both the timing of Twin Flame Union and Q&A with Kay and all the bonus content together when you sign up for both of them in this package for $177. I believe when you combine the total price of both of them, it was like $254 USD. So with the 30% off, we have it here. So all of that to say, it's a pleasure. It's been an honor to do this work with all of you. It's been a life-changing journey for me, no doubt, to realize what being a twin soul is all about and to share the channeled information that's arisen for me with each of you. And as we close 2021 and head into 2022, just know that, you know, in my heart, my gratitude is overflowing for the way we've been able to support one another through this journey. And I'm just praying for you and your family and your counterpart, that whatever the next step is, as we step into this new chapter, it's filled with love for all of us. Let's dive into the new moon in Sagittarius content, shall we? All right, this new moon in Sagittarius took place on Friday, December 4th at 2:42 a.m. at the 12th degree of Sagittarius. Here we go. 12th degree of Sagittarius. And it also coincides with the solar eclipse in Sagittarius that took place at 2:34 a.m. And this was if you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States. Can always check a time zone converter for your local times. So this new moon in Sagittarius opposed Lilith. And here is our lovely friend Lilith up here. It was conjunct Mercury. Here is our communication friend Mercury here. Lilith is all about really paying attention to themes of rejection and noticing when we need to have things our way. We have a sextile to Saturn, which is all about structure and boundaries. And we have a trine to Chiron here. And Chiron is all about having presence with our wounding in this configuration. When we look at all of these together, the acting influence of Saturn and Mercury and Chiron and Lilith on this new moon configuration, what we have is a energy that called us to speak our truth, to know what our truth is, to get anchored into it, to only speak the truth, but acknowledging and integrating the wounds and the growth that we may have experienced in the journey up until this point in time toward becoming a light worker, toward sharing your soul here on planet Earth. It's an energy of really starting to acknowledge our own wounds and where those wounds have left us at this point in our journey. As we enter into this new moon energy and this new moon energy unfolds, there is a new beginning because this is a solar eclipse and a new moon simultaneously. New moons bring in new beginnings. Solar eclipses portend new beginnings. They're like new beginnings and new moons on steroids, my teacher Nadia Shah says. And they what's going on here is that this new beginning energy has something to do with the world of communication. Sag and Gemini are our communication signs. Gemini is all about curiosity and exploration. It's like text messages and the media. Sagittarius is like philosophy, higher education, PR and marketing. And so because this is a Sag new moon solar eclipse, there is a new cycle of communication opening up here. Communication with self, communication in the world at large, communication, if you're one of my star schoolers, certainly check the axis that Sag and Gemini fall on, because this is where the new communication is going to begin for you. Knowing what house axis this is going to help you understand exactly what kind of new communication is unfolding at this time. Okay. You also want to pay attention for my star schoolers to the placement of your natal Jupiter, because Jupiter is the ruling planet of Sagittarius, where this new moon and solar eclipse are taking place. Your natal Jupiter is going to be highly responsive to this particular new moon, and that house will have an activation about the things I just mentioned with your natal Jupiter placement there. So interestingly enough, we have Neptune square the new moon eclipse here. Here is Neptune. Neptune, if you've been a member of the channel long enough, you know, of all the planetary energies, Neptune's my least favorite. And it does, the reason why is because Neptune can create a lot of fogginess and unclarity and obfuscation of information, of facts. For some, deliberate hiding of information and concealment, or just plain old inability to get clear, plain old-fashioned confusion, where you might be feeling 2, 3, 4 ways about the one topic as opposed to having a decided place in your mind about it. This represents a bit of a bifurcation and choice point for a lot of us collectively. We have an option here to go back into cycles of self-deception. The temptation will be there to pretend that we don't know what we know, to pretend that what we have seen, the truths that we understand about who we are and our pain and where we're at and where it's left us, that those things are not true, they are not real, to want to suppress, deny, and repress those things. The temptation is going to be there, but doing that, the problem with doing that is that it's going to cause us to feel really stuck. And you'll know if you're feeling stuck at this particular new moon solar eclipse, that somehow, some way, there has been some kind of repression of the truth that you already know is there. So the question to get ourselves unstuck is, what's the truth that I know about this that I cannot unknow? And this is a Virgo move. Now, mind you, I talk about this a lot on my channel when we have astrological T-squares, which we have here. We have 180 degrees between Lilith, who wants things her way, or she feels really rejected, and the new moon. And then the fulcrum point here being Neptune, who's at a 90-degree angle to both. what we have going on here with the T-square is this tension. And the tension comes from the Neptunian placement that wants us to stay in confusion. It wants us to pretend like we don't already have our answers. And so what we're being asked to do is to lean in to Virgo in energy. Virgo is the sign that's conspicuous in its omission here. We have all planetary placements in all 3 of 4 mutable signs, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Gemini. Virgo here is the 4th of the mutable signs, and there's nothing here. So we have the option to occupy Virgo in energy for ourselves and get out of the tension of the T-square, okay? If we occupy Virgo in energy, what we're asked to do is to acknowledge the details. Virgo wants us to get focused on what's right in front of our face, what's here right now, rather than a lofty ideal or a spiritual principle or things that are, 50 yards in the future or in the spiritual realm somewhere. It wants us to work our spiritual truths into practice in our interactions. So in that way, it's a very grounded new moon. It's a very grounded eclipse. It's very much about anchoring new insights into practical action, because Virgo is a very practical sign. In the 3rd dimension, Virgo is also an earth sign, 3rd dimension. It's really about calling down the wisdom that we've accumulated and placing it into how we walk and how we interact, okay? The challenge here is to really remain mindful of where we feel stuck. With a new moon eclipse in Sag, it's about bringing all of the new ways of thinking that we've cultivated in 2021 into conversation so that we can restructure our lives and align our lives to our highest ideals. Sagittarius represents our highest ideals through anchoring this Virgo in energy, which is practical action steps. Not to be 10 steps in the future, just be on the right now step. Be practical about it and trust that as long as you're taking practical action steps toward that future, you will ultimately end up in that future. Without action, our lives will use this energy of Neptune, squaring this new moon, Lilith kind of sinking into deep patterns of rejection and wanting things her way, and Chiron just lighting up the new moon energy going, yeah, you were wounded here. You were wounded here. Remember this wound. Remember that wound. Remember this slight. There's going to be a temptation here or a doorway to repeating an old lesson so that we get it this time. If we're not able to really anchor into the Virgo energy, paying attention to the details, what's happening here, what's the truth here that we know, not getting lost or carried away in mental kind of storytelling about things that may or may not be true or things that we don't have clarity about. Okay. So that's some of the energy here for this new moon in Sagittarius. That's kind of the overarching energy, like the chapter that all of this other energy is happening inside of. But there's some other pretty significant planetary storylines happening here as well. So let's get into it. We're preparing for this Venus retrograde. And Venus retrogrades are so much fun. There's a lot of challenging energies here with this. So here's Venus down here. You can see her in green. She's seated next to Pluto here. And we would call this a conjunction when the two planets sit together astrologically. This Venus conjunct Pluto is squaring planetary energy Eris, E-R-I-S, at a 90-degree angle. It is sextiling Neptune at a 60-degree angle, and Mars here at a 60-degree angle right behind it. This makes for some interesting energy. It brings a super intense, what we might even call karmic connections or karmic interactions, scheduled to begin at the time of this new moon eclipse. It brings these things up to the surface. Eris's energy is all about the energy, and they're all acting on Venus. Venus is love and money, but here's the planetary energies that are influencing her. Venus loves to be light. She loves to be all kinds of like, ooh, let's be connected. But look who's influencing her. Eris, who is reminding her of all the things, all the ways she's been disenfranchised and excluded. Neptune, who wants to actually disconnect and dissolve connection. Pluto, who wants control simply because of the way fears can get in the way of connection. And Mars in Scorpio, that's all about digging deep, doing the research, a lot of passionate energy there. When you have this much non-connecting energy acting on the most connecting planet in astrology, you can see how this energy, as we entered into this new moon eclipse, is bringing up a lot of disconnective themes or challenges to connection. For my Star School 201ers, be sure to check your chart for any contacts of this specific Venus-Pluto conjunction here in late degrees of Capricorn. Look for contacts to your vertex point, contacts to your moon, to the ruler of your 7th or your descendant house line, because this could be significant for you in terms of significant people entering, significant new cycles with people beginning, or cycles closing and people exiting. Trust that if someone comes in, whoever comes in, it was on schedule with a transit as fated as this. If there's, a heavy interaction, trust that it was on schedule. The things that happened needed to happen in order for things to lock into place and into alignment for where you're headed inside of this new moon eclipse cycle. There would not, for someone who came in or a fated interaction you may have had that could have been very intense, very heavy with this energy, there would not have been a way to avoid this energy or that person. However, how we interact, given what we've learned in 2020 and 2021 through the Sag Gemini eclipse cycle, which this is a Sag eclipse, this gives us an opportunity to utilize what we've learned about the kind of life we want, about how we want to love, how we want to lead, how we want to communicate, give and receive. It's an opportunity to utilize what we've learned to move ourselves on a much higher path and higher track. Like I said, whatever this is, whatever is happening at this moment in time, it was on schedule. It was unavoidable, okay? But you do get to choose how you want to engage with the energy, how you respond to the energy. We get to choose, do we go back into old cycles, or do we actually go about the business of doing things in a new way this time? Okay. Now, because this is a prelude to Venus's retrograde motion, and Venus is going to cross over Pluto 3 times during this process, 2 of them are going to be in the month of December. This gives us a little bit of a taste of what are the themes that must be worked out during this Venus retrograde. Now, Venus is going to be retrograde November 19th through January 29th of this year, okay, or next year. So sorry, not November 19th, December 19th. We felt her energy as early as November 19th because she was starting the process of lining up with the zone. And we're going to continue to feel the energy and be working out the themes that are occurring at this time well into the end of February, where she exits the retrograde zone. So if things have started off rocky or heavy or intense, just know that resolution will come in time, but the thing to be paying attention to is what are the themes that have come up. And we're going to break down some of these themes now so you know what to look for. And you might want to get a journal as you're listening to this, okay, so that you can start to think through, okay, how do I want to navigate this, given that this is what I'm being asked to work on? Now, for some, this could be indicative of a financial lesson that you've been learning, because Venus and Pluto speaking together does speak a lot about money, finances, debt, taxes. This is also about money, having like money granted or money owed, right? That's Venus and Pluto together. Investments, but it could also be about love. Venus and Pluto, when they get together, really bring forward an intense, possessive, obsessive, controlling kind of powerful, faded sense of energies in love. So it could be a lesson in money, it could be a lesson in love. But this is ultimately about taking on a new chapter via a return of an old work opportunity or making money through an old work prospect, or a return of an old lover, partner, ex, and an opportunity to get to completion, get to resolve with an old chapter with them so that you can finally either release the contract, release the connection, or release some of the heaviness, some of the challenge from the connection so you can move forward in a much lighter way. Pluto, when it touches things, wants to bring forward, because Pluto's touching Venus, Pluto wants to bring forward all the skeletons in the closet, all the secrets. It wants to bring forward all the fears, all of the toxicity from unresolved and unaddressed wounds. It wants to bring that stuff up so that we have the opportunity to look at it, to heal it, so that it's no longer bogging us down in those areas of life, love or money. And again, for my star schoolers, check the house placement of this, because that's specifically where you're going to be doing this work, okay? Because of the Plutonian heavy influence and the Capricorn placement, notice Venus is in Capricorn, so is Pluto. Either way, it's likely that there are going to be some themes of duty, obligation, financial ties, contracts, work kind of related things, or tradition kind of related things that call us from the past into dealing with them in the present, whether it's actually a person or a circumstance from the past, or a past dream, ideal commitment. That's the Sagittarius component, past dreams, past ideals, right? These things are going to resurface now with a, do you really want this? Do you really want to fulfill on this? Is this really the direction you want to go in? Because with this energy, we can we can fulfill on it, but it's going to take a willingness to confront a lot of our shadow to be able to do that and integrate our shadow, bring our shadow home, so we're no longer getting puppeteered by our shadow. Okay. This is only further echoed in the love department by, let's just clear up some of these lines. So this heaviness and challenge, confronting the shadow and dealing with cleaning up past stuff and some of our own shadowy energies. This is only further echoed in the love department by a connection happening between Uranus and Juno. Juno represents all of our partnerships. Uranus represents surprise, things we did not see coming. And because both Uranus and Juno are sitting in earth signs, the surprise is going to happen in the third dimension. Surprise, we're getting divorced. Surprise, someone proposes. Surprise, information you didn't know, now you know. Okay. All of this, though, if a surprise comes forward at this time in the world of relationship, good or bad, I want to encourage you to understand it, no matter how it feels, good or bad, it is ultimately operating in your highest good. Since this is a new moon in Sagittarius and a solar eclipse, whatever surprise energy is happening here, surprise, you meet someone and it's like, bam, I know I'm supposed to be with them. Whatever surprise kind of thing is happening here in the world of relationship and love, it was on schedule. It was supposed to go the way it went. And as a result of that, it's kind of catapulting each of us into our own new chapters, whatever the new chapter is. And so it's a matter of surrendering to the new chapter with grace, coming into it, eyes wide open, paying attention to the details and what's right in front of our face. That's the Virgo energy we were talking about earlier. Okay. But we're going to need to integrate all of it. We're going to need to deal with some Plutonian energy. Pluto being the outermost planet among all of these. Pluto is the one that holds the most weight in this equation. Again, these Plutonian themes are about facing our fears of loss of control, our fear of losing others and our drive to control them, fear of losing ourself in love or relationship and our drive to, control that. All of our shadow energies are going to come up in response to whatever surprises are showing up at this time. How we respond when we feel we're being manipulated is another theme here, because Pluto deals with manipulation and control. And or when we're consciously manipulating others by omitting information, it would be loving and compassionate to let them in on, or outright lying to them, because Pluto does deal with the concealment of information, either by choosing to omit it or telling a different story, so that we can get them to do what we want them to do. You're going to find that that kind of energy at this lunation is going to backfire, because the new moon and the eclipse sit in Sagittarius, the sign of truth. We're entering into a cycle where there won't be a way for that kind of information to fly in our connections at this point in time, whether they be work or money related or love and relationship related. That kind of concealment at this time, especially with Uranus in the mix of this conversation with Juno, over the course of this Venus retrograde, it is likely to come out in ways that we didn't see coming and cause even more problems if, we didn't, do the disclosure of that information up front ourselves. In other words, don't let yourself get caught in a lie, because this is a very secrets exposing energy as we move through this full Venus retrograde cycle. It's always better to reveal that which has been concealed from your own mouth than letting people find out from another perspective, okay? Or find out in a way that further undermines the trust, because they had to dig for the truth instead of trusting you to give it to them. Okay. So that's this information here. Let's see what other notes I have about this. Some of this too is also going to be an energy of our worst fears about love or money in general coming to the surface so that we can put them to rest, so that we're not living a fear-based financial reality or a fear-based relationship reality. Those things are going to get brought up so that you can use the things that you've learned about yourself over the entirety of the Sag-Gemini eclipse cycle, which is coming to a close. This is the second to last eclipse in this cycle for the last 2 years. You're going to use the things you've learned, because Sag and Gemini are learning signs about yourself, your needs, your desires, your goals, your dreams, to deal with whatever the issue is that's presenting at this time. Okay, so that's the Venus retrograde overview here. Want to make sure that I gave you that. You may find it useful to come back to this as we move into the energies of this Venus retrograde in the coming months. Like I said, we're going to be dealing with her energy until she gets out of the retrograde zone at the end of February, even though the retrograde ends at the end of January. Now, also at this time, we've been dealing with this energy all year. Saturn square Uranus. Okay, they're in a close enough orb here to be playing a role in making sure that the structures of our realities, as we have come to know them, are going to be shifting, especially now as Saturn is moving forward and they're moving into that exact square. Saturn wanting to integrate and make whole, complete new structures of our life. That Uranus is acting on that Saturn and bringing change to the structures of our life, bringing newness. And then we also have this Neptune in a square to Mars here. Now, this is an interesting configuration in the context of this new moon. There's a motivation here to get to the spiritual truth of the matter, to get to the heart of something, the root of something. This energy really forces or kind of brings up a spiritual connection in friendship, in work connections, and love connections. And it also encourages us to take a stand for the right way to do things, and provides a motivation to be, generous spirited, to look out for the underdog, to, take a stand for those who have less power than us. And so it goes really lovely with some of what we've been seeing, worldwide with, migrant movements where people are searching for a better life, and worker strikes where people are striking for better compensation, benefits, and treatment in the workplace. And the world of, how we are dealing with overcoming what's occurred pandemic wise. How do we, are we oppressing other people? Are we ourselves oppressed? Can we stand up for other people, take a stand for ourselves? That's the energy here, okay? We also have an energy here of Mars squaring Jupiter. Now this one is where things get a little hot. Not gonna lie. Mars square Jupiter adds a little turbo boost to our experiences and our motivation to get on with things at this time, to start moving forward in some kind of way, to not get stuck anymore in the same old patterns that we've been getting stuck in. Jupiter and Mars together are also a bit bold, a bit brash. They can be, it's like hyper masculinity in a squaring fashion. In certain ways, we've got mundane masculine and divine masculine in a conversation of tension, where we can find, our will to get things done and our spiritual drives and our own masculine energy are not at odds with each other, but they're in an angle of tension that can come out with a lot of aggression at this time. And because this is fixed energy, they're both in fixed signs, Mars in Scorpio, Jupiter in Aquarius. During a solar eclipse, this and the previous energy, Mars square this Neptune here, trine this Neptune here, puts us on the path of blazing a trail forward and stabilizing the structures of our life, stabilizing the people, the places, the things that are in alignment with who we really are as quickly as possible, cycling out things that just aren't in alignment anymore, and stabilizing things that are aligned. Now, this energy can be intense, especially with the Pluto Venus thing going on. So during this period of time, extra exercise, grounding work, whatever you can do to allow the energy to move through you but not get stuck in you is going to be extraordinarily helpful. All right. So there's just a little bit of room in the calendar for me to look at some of this stuff for you if you'd like. You can go on to kmoonastro.com and allow me to look at your chart if you're curious. However, it's not a lot of room. And what I will say is that if you're on the private list this week, I will be giving you an opportunity to get a mini chart reading with me. And that's probably the best way for me to work with you and look at your chart. Mini chart readings are like $22.22 USD. And for $22.22, you can ask me a single question and I'll give you, a quick overview, 5-minute answer for your question to kind of get you moving in this energy. All right. Otherwise, if you're curious, Q&A with Kay and the timing of union are both available at a savings of 30% off. You can get them both. You can get one of them, just Q&A with Kay, or just the timing of union workshop if you'd like for this 2021 holiday special, just as a way of me saying thank you to you. Once again, I appreciate all of your likes, shares, and subscribes. It's an honor to be able to do this for you each lunation. Thank you for your trust as I look at the stars. And as always, tune into your own intuition to feel into what's true for you. Take great care and bye for now.